Well, hello, welcome or welcome back, whichever it is. I'm happy you're here. We're doing a series of videos called How Much Do I Have for Dinner? Because I'm on a fixed income and things pop up and I don't always know what my budget's going to be. It could be the normal price, and it could be, hey, I needed breaks, so I had to, cut something out. So what I decided to do was put numbers in a bowl from 3 to 20, and the kids would randomly pick out how much I have for dinner that evening. What I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to shop my pantry, and I'm going to shop my deep freezer and freezer first, and take that amount off of whatever number comes out of the bowl, and then the rest we'll shop from the store. I will use whatever the current price is of the week that I'm shopping, or of the week that I'm doing that. If it's a name brand that I have and I'm showing it and I'm telling you the price of an off brand, it's because if I was at the store, that's what I would have bought at that time. So if I bought the name brand last week, it might have been on sale, and that's why I got it. I am not brand loyal, except for my soda. I will buy what's on sale. There are certain brands I won't buy, and those I won't use the prices for. If it's something I absolutely never, I don't buy that stuff. Like, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but what I do, I'll say it in one of these videos. But Tyler's going to pick out the number, and he's going to decide what we have for dinner tonight. Unfold it, sweetie.
$6?
That's what it looks like to me. $6. So, we're gonna shop the pantry, shop the freezer, shop the refrigerator, and shop underneath my cabinets. Let's go. Come on, Tyler. Later, the next day. But hello, I am back. What are we going to do with our budget? We're going to make quiche. However, I'm going to put a little disclaimer out there. When you only have $6 to work on, your budget is really small. You got to make a lot of things from scratch. What I want to do is show you how to make pie crust from scratch. In the $6 budget, I did budget for the JIFFY pie crust mix. So that's what I'm going to charge myself for, but I'm going to show you how to make pie crust, which is less expensive than the JIFFY, but I'd have to buy the whole bag of flour. So there you see my dilemma. So I'm going to show you how to make that. I'm going to charge myself for the JIFFY so you guys can get the full effect of how this could be made, should be made, can be made, or not at all made. But let's get right to it. Let's heat up those pots. Let's get it. Let's go. Come on. This is everything you're going to need to make quiche if you are not going to make it with homemade pie crust. You're going to need the JIFFY pre-made pie crust, eggs, milk, salt, pepper, cooked ham, cheese, and onion powder or green onions. If you're going to make it homemade, you will 86 the JIFFY pie crust mix. You're going to need flour, salt, CRISCO or butter, and some water. Sorry guys, I had to break this down into 2 videos. The making of the pie crust is very easy, but it does take some time. And it took me a little longer to describe what to do than I had anticipated. You can watch me make the pie crust, or you can go to the end where I linked part 2, the making of the quiche. Okay, so we're all ready to start making the pie crust. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip the camera down so you can see what I'm doing down here. I'm also going to pull my hair up because nobody wants that in their food. So let's just get right to it. Okay, so we're down here at the table. I got a lot going on, but for a little bit of work. I'm making a double batch, so you see the 2 sets of flour and water. Things you're going to need: some forks, possibly, something to cut it in, some measuring spoons, salt and water, and some CRISCO or ice cold butter if you had it. I stuck this in the freezer for just a minute. So, got nice clean hands also, because you might want to get in there with your hands. These are best tools that God has ever given us. Just take my watch off. Okay, so let's just get started. Let's get right to it. You're going to need a cup. Oh, I got flour all over the place. You're going to need a cup and a quarter of flour. It's not sifted or anything like that. Oh, you know what? I forgot something. Just in case I need this. But I want to get all the flour out. It's not sifted or anything. It's just in here. I'm going to stick this over there as I go. The other one. The reason I'm making a double batch, I really only need like a batch and a half, but it's just too much work for me. So I can always freeze it. Okay, I forgot to mention that I have my my oven preheating at 425. I'm hoping you could see that. My connection isn't going. I could usually see off camera if you could see it here, but it's not working today. So what we're gonna need is a half a teaspoon of salt. So for me, that's gonna be a whole teaspoon. Not a tablespoon, Tina, not a tablespoon. I didn't want to spill it. Teaspoon of salt. And we're just gonna whisk that together. You can add, at this juncture, if you want, you can add a little bit of sugar. It gives it a little bit of something in the background. And I don't mean like a cup of sugar. I mean like a less than 1/8 of a cup, you know, just a little bit. Okay, so now to this, just all I'm doing is just mixing it around. To this, you're gonna add 1/3 a cup of ice cold butter, or CRISCO, or whatever you have chosen to use as your fat. So I'm gonna need 2/3 of a cup. The rest of that's going back in the freezer. Let me just take care of that. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take half of this, and I'm gonna keep this. Also, I'm gonna put this back in the freezer, and I'll explain when I get back. Stuck my finger in it already. The reason I did that was because you wanna get the butter, shortening, whatever it is you're using, to make like a crumbly consistency in here. And what I do first is I get it all the way down to like fine, like still looking like flour. But then you also want to put in, get some bigger chunks. So it just makes for layers, I guess. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna hunk this up in here. I mean, it's still not even that cold. You see how this is already softened up? That's why I wanted to go ahead and just put the other in there and let it keep softening. I mean, not softening, keeping it ice cold. I do that all the time, guys. You'll notice that I say the wrong thing a lot. That just has to do with a brain injury I suffered back in the late 90s. So I go to say one thing and another word pops out. Okay. So my hands, I don't want to get my hands wet again to wash them again. Trust me, they are clean. I mean, I did touch my door over there, but I used my pinky to open it with because I'm funny like that. I'm going to start off with just this, and just to see if I can get it cut in. I don't like using this all the time because you don't get as many uniform pieces as you would when you don't use it. Try to push it up my arm so it stays up there. But there's only so much I could do with this. That's why either I go in with the forks. You're gonna see me do my hands. If it bothers you, look away. Comes my grandson, I hear him moving. All right, so if you can see what I got going on in here right now, it's looking like big clumps. I'm gonna go in now with my hands and make it crumbly. And you're gonna mix it all through. I think I'm good. I think. Okay, so it kind of looks like sand a little bit. Let me, hoping you could see it. It looks a little bit like sand in there. All right, let me get the other one. I need to get something on my hand to grab the door with. And here's the rest of it. Kind of reminds me of elementary school, right? And we're gonna go back in. I'm gonna do the same thing with this that I did with the other, only this one I'm just gonna leave a couple of, now it's still gonna be fine. You're not really gonna see what I'm talking about. You'll see it more towards the end when it's flaky and different textures and elements in there. And wipe off the table here I'm working with. Okay, so now you want sizes in here anywhere from sand to an almond size maybe. I don't know if I'm going to get that consistency today, but that's what I go for. Just leave a couple of clumps in there. Not a lot. Maybe not an almond, that might be too big. Maybe a pea. From sand to a pea. Okay, that's about what I'm gonna do right here. Let me show you what I got going on. Hope you could see that. So let me wash my hands and I'll be right back with a clean hand and a clean table. Okay, I'm back. I got clean hands, got all under my fingernails. Let me just give this sat a minute. Now you're gonna see that it's starting to look a little yellow. I don't know if it shows up on camera. It's okay, it's supposed to look like that. Now you see I have clumps in here. You see some of the clumps? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get a pair of gloves. Because I'm gonna have to go in again and I really don't want it under my fingernails. I'm not doing it because anybody's making me or it's more sanitary. Well, it is more sanitary, but I just don't like the feeling of things under my fingernails. So, TMI, right? Get with it, Tina. Oh, frugal Franny over here. All right. So, you're going to add in about a quarter cup of water, but we're going to do it now. I know I'm going to use this first whole quarter because it's a double batch, but I'm going to add it in the way you're supposed to, about a tablespoon or so first. And now you're going to crumble this in. You're going to mix this in. And you don't want to overwork it. You just want to keep like this. Now what you want this to get to is if you squeeze it real tight, see how that falls apart? Like I squeeze it, it's gonna fall apart. You want to be able to just do that and for the integrity to stay. So like I said, that's the first whole quarter. On this next quarter is where I'm going to start being a little stingy with it. See, like, look. Let me do this one piece right here that I know is wet. It's not wet enough, but if I squeeze it like this, it'll pretty much stay. It's not because it's not ready, but... And I'm going to continue using the tablespoon because... I don't know why, because that's the way I'm doing it. Go into the outsides of the bowl to get those, and another half a tablespoon. Because I feel like this is going to come, I'm not going to need this whole thing because I can feel the moisture in it. And you don't want your pie crust too wet because that makes for a soggy pie crust. And we're going to, what they call blind bake the pie here because we don't want a soggy bottom to our quiche. All right, I think we're almost there. Just don't there's so many rules to it. I just fold it and just keep folding it over on itself because then it makes for layers. And then squish it down. Yeah, I think we're done here. It's sticking to itself. If it can come away from the sides of the bowl like this, you know you're there. Yeah, I'm gonna call it right here. And I still have half of that quarter cup, so I have 1/8 of a cup left. Oops, get back in there. So now I'm gonna take this dough and I'm gonna wrap it in some saran wrap. And I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator for about a half hour at least. And this is gonna make 2 pie crusts. I'm gonna wrap it up, put it in the refrigerator for about a half an hour, and I'll be back. You know what? I changed my mind. I'm not gonna freeze it or refrigerate it in 2 sections. I'm gonna cut it in half because when I come out later and I just wanna roll out one dough, I could do that. So I'm gonna freeze it like that. Now, was it perfect? No, but one of these halves are his. But look inside here. I don't know if you could see in there. Do you already see that I had layers in there? Those layers are going to translate into our pie crust. Man overboard! But that's going to translate. Okay, into the refrigerator it goes. Wrapped up, plastic, going in.
If you get any benefit at all from my content, you can help me out by clicking like, share, commenting, and definitely hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a new video.
The fridge. Okay, so here we are. We have a nice clean surface, nice clean hands. I'm going to flour the table down just a little bit. A lot of it, maybe. And what you want to do is, you're going to want to flour both sides of your dough. And what we're going to do is we're just going to roll it out. Hopefully, it's going to work for us. And you don't want to roll it 2 ways. You just want to roll away from you, not this. Okay? You want to just roll away and turn. Roll away and turn. And that's what we're going to do. Okay, so you see my floured mess here. What you're going to do is I had sat the dough down in this. It's not wet. You want to make sure your pie crust is going to be big enough. And it is, because you see you have enough to hang over the edges. So let me just clean out this pan and we'll get right back to it. Okay, at this point you want to have as much of the flour off as possible. And how I'm going to pick this up is I'm going to roll it up onto my rolling pin here because we don't want it to tear and all the rest of that stuff that happens. See that? And you bring your pan in and you unroll it right in there best you can. And then we're just gonna seat it down in there. Press it down. Okay, now some people would cut off the extra pie. I don't. I just lift it up, sit it down inside there with my finger, not my fingernails, because I end up ripping everything. I take the dough and I just fold it over, and then I start doing my little kind of crimping. I'm not the best crimper, but what I do is I fold it over, and then I just either use my finger and do this, and we just go all the way around doing that. Let me get that done and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I'm coming down the home stretch. I'm just using my knuckle, sticking it in there and crimping it. That's all I did all the way around. I folded the edges over. Nobody's gonna care. Okay, so now we're gonna cover this with some parchment paper inside. I'm gonna show you what to do. Just let me get that. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna pretend we're back in school, and we're gonna fold this into pieces, like we're gonna make a snowflake, I guess. Sorry, like that, and then fold it over. Hopefully it's big enough. When I do it with my scissors, it should be big enough. You're just gonna round it off. I'm gonna do it over here. And then we're gonna make some wispy things in the top. Now, if you have weights or something like that, you can use that. If not, we're gonna use my parchment paper. See, made a nice big circle. There you have it. Now, what you can use is weights for food. I'm going to use some beans. And on this, I'm going to use some foil. This step is to keep the bottom of it flat. It doesn't bubble up or break through or anything like that. I wish I had weights that I could reuse. I don't. I hate wasting beans, but these have been around for some time now. And we're gonna break into the bag. The weights that you buy look very similar to these beans. All right, so that's gonna go in the oven at 425 for 10 to 12 minutes. After that, we're gonna come back, I'm gonna take everything out and we're gonna put it back in the oven. But there's some other things that need to go on before that. I'm going to put this in the oven and I'm gonna make Eric's. When Eric's is done, I'll come back and show it to you. There's no need in showing it to you twice when you've already seen it. And Eric's is done. Gotta line his with some foil and put it in the oven. All right, there's Eric's. Beans are going in the oven for 10 to 12 minutes and then I'll be back. Okay, so that's 10 minutes. Okay, take the beans out. I don't want to grab them too much because they're going to hold some of that heat in there. Take that out. And then you're just going to poke some holes in the bottom. What I'm going to do first, though, to make this nice, I'm going to do an egg wash on it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a little bit of an egg wash. That's just got a little bit of the cream that I'm going to be using in today's recipe. And milk, and not milk. Some of the cream from today's recipe and some egg are in here. Before I poke some holes in the bottom, I want to give this a nice egg wash. Because if I poke the holes in it and then do the egg wash, it'll seal up the bottom. I want this kind of makes it waterproof, I suppose. So when I go and put the egg in here later, it's not gonna have a soggy bottom. And that's basically all I'm doing. It's just giving it a nice little egg wash. And it gives everything a nice little glistening gleam. I like to do the egg wash on the ends, more towards the end of baking it, but since I'm here now and we're doing it now, I guess that's what I'm doing. Now, mine has our stuff from today. Eric's will not have ours from today. Eric's is exactly the same. Almost dropped it. Still a little hot. Hoping you can see Eric's. So I took the beans out of Eric's, taking the paper out of Eric's. Just a little bit of the egg wash. And we're just gonna give them a quick washing. Before I put this back in, we're gonna poke some holes in it. There we go. I'll start with his, and then I can use it on mine. You're just gonna poke a couple of holes in the bottom. It keeps it from getting too wet down there. So that's all I'm doing. I'm gonna do the same now over here. You can't see, maybe you can see. Right there. Just gonna put a couple of holes in the bottom, just so the steam can escape. And that's going back in for another 10 minutes. And then we're gonna whip up the eggs, put them right in, and we'll be eating. And there you have it. It bubbled a little bit, but that's okay. I touched it right there. I didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. Eric's is much the same. His came out really, really nice. See there? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this cool while I make the egg mixture. And look at her. She looking at me. And there we go. Everybody said at that time,